Across the APIs, platform event behavior compared to SObject behavior. Welcome to another session of Across the APIs. We're going to be diving into platform events, and they're a key construct in integrations and even processing inside of Salesforce. Now, Salesforce has made platform events really easy to use, and they look like SObjects and they act like SObjects in some ways, but they have other very different properties, which are part of their strengths. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be comparing a platform event behavior to what's called an SObject behavior, standard object behavior, custom object behavior. Once you get those two behaviors, we can be building upon in many subsequent sessions. So here's an object properties. When we say SObject, Salesforce has a number of standard objects, and it allows us to create custom objects. And these custom objects are also based on the SObject paradigm. And what happens is Salesforce has its own database or data repository, and we'll be maintaining separate tables for your SObjects, your standard ones that come with Salesforce out of the box, or the custom ones that you either create or are created through an app exchange that you install. Now, you are manipulating those objects. First, there's two channels of working with them. There's DML, where what you do is you can create, edit, or delete these SObjects. When you create, you're creating a new record. You're editing existing, and delete, you're sending the delete command. Now, when you want to pull from the database, you run either a SOQL statement, SOQL, Structured Object Query Language, or a SOSL, SOSL, Structured Object Search Language, and you retrieve your SObject. Every SObject is maintained with a primary key, 99% of the time. That's what's called an ID. And there's a single instance of an object maintained by that ID. So if you were to query it by ID and another process were to query by the same ID, they would be getting the same record. And if you make updates, there's a single instance. So the updates are maintained transactionally. So these are some key tenets that may seem obvious, but when we start switching over to platform events, we're going to see a difference. Now we're going to look at platform events. So platform events have a suffix that is different. Instead of an underscore C, it's an underscore E for our custom ones. There are standard platform events that don't have the suffix. Now, these are different. There are two channels for two ways of dealing with these. So first, a channel is defined, which is essentially built around the name of the platform event. That's called the channel. And then you get a choice. You create a platform event and you publish it to the channel. The platform events are always added to the end of the channel. So you cannot put them anywhere other than at the end by the act of publishing them. There is no primary key that you save to this. Your events are just published. Now, that's a very straightforward mechanism, which is to create an event and publish it. Now, what the other side of the channel is where the magic is and where you need to understand the nuances. So when you are a process and you want to receive messages, you cannot select an individual message and get it. You must request a stream of messages, meaning be ready to start receiving one to many messages from the event bus. And when you connect, this is either your first connection or this is after you disconnect and reconnect, you have three choices on how you're going to connect. So when you're connecting to the channel, your first choice is to say, give me only future events. Give me only events that have not yet occurred. So what you'll do is you'll be connect to the channel, you'll have subscribed, and you will get future messages that come in after you have connected. And each message will be transmitted sequentially after that. And each message will have what's called a replay ID. Now, if you were to lose connection for some reason and you reconnect, you might want to have caught any missed messages. So you might have stored your latest replay ID from your latest message, and then you would use option number 2. Option number 2 is you're going to reconnect from a particular message reference, a particular message replay ID. Now, there are 2 types of parameters. There's the old streaming API, which takes numeric parameters, and that hence option 1 is a -1. Or the new PubSub API takes different type of parameters. And so I'm showing you the 2 different parameters. So if you're in option 2, you would either send in a replay ID only in the streaming API, or you'd send custom with the replay ID in option 2. That'll give you any messages starting after the one you ask for. So if you were to pass in, let's say it's a numeric message ID of 100, that was the last message you receive, you disconnect and you pass in 100, you will then get message 101 or greater. Now the messages are stored on the event bus for a retention window. That is a certain amount of time. Platform events, that's 72 hours. There may be a time where you want to go back and get everything in the retention window. And that's where you would use option 3. So you would subscribe to the channel. You'd either pass in a -2 if it's a numeric, the streaming of them, the streaming API, or you'd pass in earliest if you're dealing with the new PubSub API. And again, these messages are going to come in sequence, starting at what you've indicated, either option 1, option 2, or option 3. And each message will have its own replay ID. So there is no primary key for a message. There's just a replay ID that you get to choose to replay. And when you publish, you do not get a key. You don't know what its replay ID is. You are just adding to the event bus. So the publish should be light and fast, and the event bus will consume that message and place it at the end of the event stack. The subscribing is where the real lifting belongs, and that's where you're going to connect, choose your replay method, either future messages, messages after a particular replay ID, or all messages in the retention window. Now, Salesforce is maintaining the event bus, and it handles a massive amount of events with a very low latency. And so we're tapping into that. And our side of this process is just to publish the event and then subscribe. Publishing can be done from inside of Salesforce. Publishing can be done outside through an API. Subscribing could be done inside of Salesforce, and subscribing could be done outside through an API. So this is a nice little summary difference of the behaviors. Either databases SObjects, reading and writing by primary key, you either insert, update, delete, or you query. And then dealing with platform events, you have the channel, and you're either publishing onto the event stack, and that's dropping it to the end of the event stack, or you're subscribing. And when you do subscribe, you get one of 3 choices. Give me the latest ones, give me anything after a particular replay ID, or give me everything back to the retention window. Now, these are very powerful mechanisms that we're going to layer in subsequent videos and show you the power of how you could use them for both inter-process communication inside of Salesforce and communicating with processes outside of Salesforce. Hope this is helpful. This gives you some fundamental understandings of the behavioral differences. Thank you for joining our event education. Join us again, same bat time, same bat channel. Subscribe. YouTube, SteveTechArc, or www.SteveTechArc.com. Thank you very much.